Hello and welcome back to the Unite Pieces channel. Today we will be recapping an action, thriller, movie from 2021, titled Nobody. Nobody focuses on Hutch Mansell, a father and husband who is often underestimated and overlooked, but when two burglars break into his suburban home one night, Hutch gets back at them, and shows them who he really is, which even his own family doesn't know. So, sit back, relax, and without further ado, let's get into the story. The movie opens by showing the monotonous routine of a man named Hutch Mansell. He works as an employee at the steel factory owned by his father-in-law. Hutch has a wife and two children. His wife, named Becca, is the manager of a well-known company. One night, Hutch's house was visited by a pair of robbers. Hutch, who saw it, tried to hit one of the robbers using a golf club, but suddenly he stopped his steps. Suddenly, his son, named Blake, came and immediately hit one of the robbers and tried to catch him. But Hutch instead told Blake to release the robber, and the robber immediately hit Blake's face, which made Hutch disappointed. Hutch also let the robber take his change and also his watch. At that time Hutch had seen a tattoo on the hand of one of the robbers, before they finally left. Hutch's actions that let the robber go so easily disappointed Blake, and considered him a coward. Soon the police arrived, and stated that what Hutch did was right, but other policemen sneered at Hutch for not doing anything when his family was threatened. The news of the robbery reached the neighbor's ears. While showing off his new sports car, the neighbor also sneered at Hutch because he considered him a coward. Arriving at the office, Charlie, Hutch's brother-in-law, also underestimated him because he didn't do anything when his family was threatened. Even Charlie gave a gun to Hutch, so he could protect his family. After that, Hutch took out the radio he kept in his office, then contacted his half-brother named Harry. In their conversation, it was discovered that Hutch deliberately let the robbers escape, because he knew they were just a couple who robbed for necessity. Especially after he learned that the gun they used was bulletless, he preferred to let them go. In the afternoon, Hutch visits his father, David, who now lives in a nursing home, and he is also a retired FBI. In the evening, when he returned home, Hutch stood at the door for a moment to reflect on his actions, and saw that his family seemed disappointed with him. When he entered the house, Blake and Becca were still ignoring him, but his little daughter suddenly came and revealed that she lost the cat collar that she had kept in the change bin. Seeing his distraught daughter, Hutch couldn't take it anymore, so he decided to find the perpetrator of the theft. He went to the nursing home and secretly borrowed his father's gun and FBI badge, although David eventually found out about it, but he allowed Hutch to act. Armed with the memory of the tattoo on the hand of one of the thieves, he began to explore various tattoo places and then showed the shape of the tattoo he remembered, and asked for the address of the person. 2 places he had visited, and the result was that they did not know, but after coming to the 3rd place, he finally found the address of the thief. At first they refused to give it, because it was a secret and also Hutch had no authority. However, when one of the guards saw the tattoo on Hutch's arm, he became frightened and immediately left the room. After getting the address, Hutch immediately came to the location. After entering the house by sneaking around, he immediately beat the male robber. However, when Hutch asked about his daughter's bracelet necklace, the robber replied he didn't know it, then suddenly heard the sound of a baby crying, and revealed that they were forced to steal to pay for their child who was affected by an illness. Seeing this, Hutch immediately left and was angry with himself. Hutch went home by bus, but on the way the bus was stopped by a group of Russian thugs. They entered and made trouble on the bus, even trying to harass a female passenger. Hutch, who saw that, used the excuse of saving the woman as an outlet for his anger at the thugs, and began to attack them. Hutch even slit the last man's throat and let him breathe through a straw. Upon returning home, Hutch's wife, who was waiting for him, was surprised to see the wounds Hutch had sustained from the fight. She patiently treated his wounds, and didn't ignore Hutch anymore. Meanwhile, in a bar, a Russian mobster named Julian, who is in the money laundering business, is offended that another mobster who entrusted his money in his business doubts his effectiveness in managing the business. So it upsets him. He viciously slaughters one of the patrons who is a member of the rival mafia, and says that this is what happens if they doubt him. Then suddenly he got a call from the hospital, informing him that his younger brother was seriously injured and in a coma. It turns out that the thugs who were previously beaten by Hutch on the bus were members of Julian's mafia. Even one of the young men who was severely injured by Hutch was his brother. After learning about his brother's condition, Julian was furious and alluded to who the culprit was. Could it be his rival mafia? One of the thugs then revealed that the one who beat them up was an unknown person. They didn't even have a problem before. However, he managed to find a business card belonging to Hutch. Then Julian hired a beautiful hacker to find information about Hutch. In the morning, Hutch was contacted by Harry and warned him that his life was in danger, because a Russian mobster was looking for him. Harry then told him to meet a friend at the barbershop so that he could find out who exactly the Russian mobster was targeting him. After meeting the person in question, Banyan, Hutch finally found out that the one who was targeting him was Julian, one of the Russian mafia who managed the money laundering business, and he was a confidant of Obsak, the Russian mafia boss, who was given the trust to manage this business. Banyan revealed that Julian was a sociopath and a dangerous person, but Hutch revealed that he would take care of it himself. Elsewhere, it turned out that the beautiful hacker had difficulty finding Hutch's data, so he finally asked his friend at the Pentagon for help. However, after getting Hutch's data, for some reason the hacker was even frightened and chose to resign. Knowing how dangerous this Hutch was, then Julian ordered his men to capture Hutch alive. Next, Pavel, Julian's right hand, and several thugs rushed to Hutch's house to arrest him. Hutch, who was eating dinner, saw several cars heading to his house. He knew it was Julian's reply, therefore he quickly hid his family in the basement, and asked his wife not to call 911. Before Pavel and his men broke in, Hutch turned off the house lights first and started his guerrilla attack. He eliminated one by one Pavel's men, before he was finally electrocuted and passed out. Pavel and his two remaining men immediately took Hutch to meet Julian, but on the way Hutch came to his senses and found a fire extinguisher there. Using it, he then distracted the driver, causing their car to crash. Miraculously, Hutch survived the accident while Pavel and the other two died horribly. Hutch immediately ran back to his house while calling his father, to warn him that there might be gunmen coming to see him. Upon returning home, Hutch immediately got his family out of the basement. They were of course shocked and incredulous after seeing the condition of his house and many people who were dying, because they knew Hutch was a man who had no courage. But Hutch said that he would explain when it was all over, and he asked his wife to take his two children to a safe place. Then Hutch gathered all of Julian's men who were dying and told his experience when he was still working as intelligence. He used to be tasked with eliminating the mafia who were immune to the law, but one day, he passed the target he was supposed to kill. After a year passed, Hutch returned to monitor the person in case he made another mistake, but Hutch saw another scene where the person had lived quietly and happily with his family. Hutch was jealous to see that, so he decided to retire and get married, and live like an ordinary person. After he told his story, he then took all his retirement assets including gold bars, and then to eliminate evidence, Hutch burned his house along with Julian's dead men. On the other hand, Hutch's prediction was correct. Julian's other men came to attack David at the nursing home. Fortunately, David managed to finish off the two mobsters. Meanwhile, to face a bigger attack from Julian's men and Julian himself, Hutch uses the gold he saved to buy his father-in-law's company, and he will use it as a massacre place for Julian and his men. Meanwhile, Julian became even more angry when he found out that Pavel and his members were dead. Julian also called all his troops to gather, and with his orders he would arrest Hutch. However, before Julian attacked, Hutch first attacked Julian's money laundering place, and killed anyone who tried to resist him. Not only that, Hutch also burned all of Obshak's money, which amounted to hundreds of millions of dollars in the place. Then Hutch met Julian at the bar, who seemed to be doing a concert. Julian was shocked because Hutch dared to come to the place alone, but it turned out that Hutch had prepared a bomb tied to his body to threaten them if they dared to vary. They finally talked face to face, and there Hutch told Julian that he had burned and destroyed all the money in his business, in retaliation for Julian sending people to attack his house. Hearing this, Julian was very angry, because he would definitely be targeted by Obsak. Hutch then suggested to Julian that he get plastic surgery and run away and live in peace, also asked him not to disturb his life anymore. After that, he went out while holding a bomb that was on his body. After Hutch drove his car away, Julian ordered all his men to chase and kill him. The chase ensued, but fortunately Hutch managed to avoid his assassination attempt and directed them to come to the factory he had prepared. Once there, Hutch had a shootout before entering the factory, but fortunately Harry had come and helped him, followed by David, who came out to bring Hutch into the factory. After they entered, they began to direct Julian's men to enter the trap and the result, they managed to kill most of Julian's troops, until Julian was left alone. However, at the same time their weapons had run out of bullets, while Julian was holding an assault rifle. Hutch then had an adrenaline challenge plan, because he would use the bomb he had brought to kill Julian. He attached the bomb to a steel shield, then advanced towards Julian and after that incident, Hutch asked Harry and David to leave the location because he himself would be responsible for everything that happened. After they left, Hutch found a kitten in the corner of the room. He picked it up and then called the police to turn himself in. After that, the scene moved to show Hutch being interrogated by two agents, where the two agents asked who Hutch really was, but Hutch only answered nobody. Shortly thereafter, the two agents received a call from their superiors, and immediately their facial expressions changed. After the call was hung up, Hutch was then declared free. Some time later, Hutch and his wife were seen negotiating to buy a new house, but suddenly an anonymous call rang on the realtor's cell phone, and the caller asked him to hand over the call to Hutch, where the caller said that his services were still needed. After the call is hung up, Hutch agrees to buy the house, and that's how the movie ends. What do you think of this movie? Please write your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit the like button, and support our channel by subscribing, so that we stay motivated to create more interesting content for you to enjoy. And until next time.